From the true story of Sleeping Beauty to the destructive invention created in Dexter's laboratory to an unsuspecting Disney fan, here are 10 facts that will ruin your childhood. The Flintstones is one of the most popular animated series of all time. You don't dare to say it, but sometimes you still sneak a few episodes of this old American series, which was broadcast from 1960 to 1966, to dive back to your childhood. And just then, you grab your smartphone to search for an episode. But, here, you come across an old commercial featuring Fred Flintstone and his neighbor and friend Barney. Didn't know the show was once used for advertising? You focus on the spot, wait a little longer, and then, voila, you've just discovered the product in question. Winston cigarettes. Shocking, isn't it? You are wondering why this famous cigarette brand would promote its product by choosing the heroes of a program for children. Well, you have to know that at that time, that is to say during the 60s, this kind of advertisement was allowed, and there was no taboo. Do you understand better now? But you will be relieved to know that this advertisement was criticized and that Winston stopped promoting his cigarettes in 1963. Well, that'll force you to watch your kids' favorite cartoons before they do. Ah, the fairy tales. Who has never dreamed of becoming a prince or a princess? These wonderful stories have lulled our childhood, and even Disney was inspired by them for its animated classics. One of these films is Sleeping Beauty, released in 1959. Now, almost everyone knows the story of the unfortunate princess who is put under a spell and must stay asleep until a handsome prince comes to wake her up. You like the story so much that one day you decide to do some research on the person who wrote this wonderful tale. But, while doing your research, you are suddenly surprised. Although Sleeping Beauty was written by Charles Perrault and then retold by the Grimm brothers, the original story actually comes from the Italian writer Giambattista Basile, and in reality, it's not so wonderful. You then sit down to read the summary of this story and learn a little more about the original version. And then you are completely flabbergasted. In the original version of Sleeping Beauty, entitled Sun, Moon, and Talia, released in 1634, it is rather about aggression, infidelity, murder, revenge, in short. So many frightful facts good to make a horror movie. You close the webpage and start to think a little about it. The Disney movie suddenly seems less fantastic. Do you like this video? Then don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all the notifications and not miss anything of our next publications. Let's continue. Do you like the Power Rangers? If you've always been fascinated by these superheroes, then you've always remembered the colors of their costumes. But while you are quietly reviewing their beautiful group photos, you try to scan in your mind some details you never paid attention to before. And then you discover, a little surprised, that the yellow Power Ranger is not wearing a skirt, unlike the pink Power Ranger. However, it was a girl, the late actress Thuy Trang, who played the yellow Power Ranger, right? You try to understand what is behind this difference, and with some research, you find the answer. In the original Japanese version, the yellow Power Ranger was a man. Wow, you are a little disappointed by what you have just learned. Well, we could have had the same thing in the American version, but the producers had decided that there would be not one, but two female characters. All this is interesting, but strangely enough, you are already beginning to imagine the features of a man behind the yellow mask. Since we have opened the chapter about the Power Rangers, let's continue on our way. What do you say? Here's another piece of information you probably didn't know about these superheroes, especially about one of them, the Red Power Ranger. Here you are again, researching to find some interesting information about the different interpreters of this character. One name, in particular, is strangely repeated, Ricardo Medina. You type this name on your search engine, and to your great delight, the web brings out a panoply of articles about this American actor of Puerto Rican origin. You read the titles and it's a shock. You have just learned that this actor, who played the leader of the Power Rangers, is actually a murderer. Alas, it is the truth. Ricardo Medina was tried and convicted for killing his roommate in 2015. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. You tell yourself that life is like that and that human beings are capable of anything. It saddens you to think so, but in the end, the Power Rangers are not so superheroes. Now let's fly to a magical world where a young girl has a great adventure with 3 strange friends, a scarecrow, a tin man, and a scared lion. You guessed it, it's the famous Wizard of Oz, one of the cult movies. Ah, the good memories of childhood that catch up with you. You suddenly want to know more about the making of this movie, which is considered a big hit. But while you're doing your research on the internet, a detail catches your eye. You choose to read this article where the character of the Cowardly Lion is mentioned, and there, you finally find the information you wanted to verify. The cowardly lion costume was made with a real lion skin that weighed over 40 kilos. Not only does it give you a little creepiness, but it also confuses you. Well, you know that for the needs of the cinema, we are ready to do anything, even if it means using a real lion skin to dress the character. The next time you watch The Wizard of Oz, you won't be able to help but think of that lion who lent his dress to Bert Lahr. Some of you may remember an endearing character that we all dreamed of having as a friend, even though he was not human. Did you recognize him? It's E.T., the friendly alien we discovered in Steven Spielberg's 1982 film. Many years have passed since then, but the child in you still wants to see this nice character again. While searching for the movie on a streaming platform, you happen to come across a documentary that tells the secrets of the making of E.T., the alien. The timing couldn't be better. You sit down on your couch to watch this program featuring the famous mascot. You learn a little more about this remotely manipulated puppet, its mime gestures, its voice, and even the choice of the small actors who played E.T., including this young boy who suddenly catches your attention. You then learn that his name is Matthew Demerit, that he was 12 years old at the time, and that he was born without legs. You are all ears. At first, you can't believe it, but eventually, you learn that in order to shoot some special scenes, they had to cast this legless boy as the friendly alien. Well, it's safe to say that from now on, you won't see E.T. in the same way. Let's move on to another Disney classic, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. You probably know the story from having watched the movie at least a dozen times. But tonight, as you lie quietly in bed, you hold in your hands a copy of Notre Dame de Paris, the book by Victor Hugo published in 1831. This time, you want to read this French literary masterpiece that Disney inspired. At first, you struggle to understand the context. However, you soon find yourself among your favorite heroes and characters. You like the story and decide to continue reading this pillar of French culture. Suddenly, you realize that the story has taken a different turn and that it has nothing to do with the magic of Disney. Indeed, the ending of Victor Hugo's novel is sad. Esmeralda is executed after being wrongly convicted of the murder of Phoebus. As for poor Quasimodo, he throws himself into the mass grave where Esmeralda's body has been laid and dies beside her, embracing her for eternity. Finally, you like the original story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame and his beloved, but this sad ending has somewhat broken the magic of your favorite Disney movie. Ah, the Disney classics. You always loved them and you never get tired of them, so much so that you continue to draw your favorite characters. But one day, when you have just finished a sketch of Professor, one of the dwarfs from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, you realize with surprise and wonder that you are not the only one who excels in this field. Someone before you have done a wonderful job drawing 3 of the 7 dwarfs as well as Pinocchio. In any case, you sit down to read the article that accompanies these drawings. You manage to get some information on their origin. As for their author, you fall from the clouds. The author of these drawings would be Adolf Hitler. Yes, himself. In any case, this is what the director of a Norwegian museum claims, who had bought a painting probably painted by Hitler. Behind this painting were these 4 drawings of Disney characters that, according to this man, had been drawn by the Führer's hand. The initials AH on 3 of these drawings would prove it. And, as you probably didn't know, Hitler was very fond of the Disney classics and had a soft spot for Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. So that makes sense to you. However, the idea that behind the stern face of the foul Nazi leader may have been a child's soul can only displease you. We are now going to tell you about a cartoon that features a little red-headed genius who wears a white coat, a pair of gloves, and a big pair of glasses. But yes, how not to recognize the famous Dexter who accompanied our childhood? No need to remind you then that this gifted boy had a laboratory in which he had fun creating many inventions. But wait a minute. Do you know Dexter's latest invention? Well, you're in for a treat. But I might as well tell you, it's not what you think it is. Ah, you're thinking about it, but you still haven't found the answer. Well, here it is. In the last episode of the series, Dexter had to invent a machine to destroy the Earth. It's a shock for you. The little genius you've liked for so long suddenly becomes an evil character. All because he's decided to ally himself with his worst enemy Mandark and follow him in his plans. But what you don't know is that Dexter has actually set a trap for Mandark. This machine was not intended to destroy the Earth, but to explode in the hands of his enemy to prove that he was better than him. This is what happens when Dexter plugs in the machine, which reminds us of the credits. Phew. So you are a little relieved. And finally, we are going to tell you about a young American actress and voice actress. This is Davy Chase. whose voice you may have heard in the animated film Lilo and Stitch, released in 2002. In this movie, Davy lends her voice to little Lilo. To hear her voice better, you decide to watch a clip from the movie. But the voice suddenly sounds familiar. You listen again and again until you found it. The voice is that of Samara Morgan, the young girl with long black hair from the film The Ring who has haunted you for nights. This discovery sends a chill down your spine.
But I do, and I'm sorry. We're sisters. It's our job.
From a cartoon heroine to a character in a horror movie, this seems totally absurd. However, you pull yourself together and tell yourself that Davy has managed to play two completely opposite roles, and in the same year. That's reassuring. But the next time you watch Lilo and Stitch, you'll hear Samara Morgan instead of Lilo. I hope your fond childhood memories have not been totally shattered by what you just learned today. But tell me, how do you feel? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and as always, feel free to subscribe, like, and share this video.